Settler colonialism is a unique form of colonialism, characterized by the replacement of indigenous populations with settlers who establish their own society and identity over time. Countries like Canada, the United States, Australia, and South Africa are examples of settler colonial states. This concept is also applied to understand conflicts in places like Israel, Kenya, and Argentina, as well as to trace colonial legacies of empires that created settlement colonies. More recently, scholars have extended settler colonial analyses to explore its role in larger imperial projects and its impact on global politics. Lorenzo Veracini, a prominent scholar in settler colonial studies, argues that understanding settler colonialism globally is crucial, and he asserts that we currently live in a settler colonial global present. Settler colonialism is distinct from other forms of colonialism, such as classical or metropole colonialism and neo-colonialism, due to several key features. Firstly, settler colonizers intend to permanently occupy and establish sovereignty over indigenous lands, differentiating them from transient colonial agents like traders or soldiers. Secondly, settler colonialism is viewed as a structure rather than a one-time event, persisting through the ongoing elimination of indigenous populations and the establishment of state control over their lands. Despite the idea of post-coloniality, settler colonial societies continue to be colonial, even after severing political ties with the founding metropole. Thirdly, the ultimate goal of settler colonialism is its own termination. Unlike other colonial forms aiming to maintain power imbalances, settler colonizers strive for a supreme and unchallenged settler state and people. However, this is not an effort to decolonize, but rather an attempt to eliminate challenges to settler sovereignty by eradicating indigenous peoples, promoting false narratives, and establishing structures of settler belonging. Settler colonial societies globally tend to follow similar patterns in how they organize space, establish power structures, and shape social narratives. It often starts with the concept of terra nullius, where lands long used by indigenous peoples are viewed as empty or unused. Settler colonization then involves dividing these indigenous-held lands into individual private properties. Settler communities invest their identity and belongings in these properties, simultaneously empowering a state to protect these properties from indigenous peoples, often perceived as threats. The authority of settler state structures is frequently represented by frontier police forces like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Australian Mounted Police, or the American Cavalry of the Wild West, along with bureaucratic agencies. These government officials, commonly known as Indian agents in North America, historically held significant power over indigenous peoples. This power included the ability to apprehend children, control movement on official reserve lands, regulate employment, and even deploy police or military forces against indigenous communities. These extensive powers are based on racially biased narratives that portray indigenous people as savage, with men depicted as violent and women hypersexualized, reinforcing the need for intervention by the civilized settler state. The dehumanization of indigenous peoples supports parallel narratives depicting settlers as virtuous pioneers in peaceful expansion. The image of brave pioneers is upheld as a symbol of new settler nations emerging from frontier spaces.